Hi, I'm the Weird Christian, Doug Ferguson, and I've written a few books. And right now I'm writing or presenting a criticism on the Westminster Confession. And last time I talked about the reason why I'm doing this. If you want to listen to my last recording on this, it's called, it's about the Westminster Confession. And today I'm doing what is truth, and then the next topic will be the gospel. I'm doing all this pre stuff because when you listen to truth, you'll find out that people's understanding of it is varies, and so these things have to be defined so that we can actually communicate properly. And then in the next chapter or the next video I'll be doing, it'll be conflicting concepts of authority throughout Christian history. And then my next one will be what happened in the garden, which will be a totally different take than you ever heard about before. Gnosticism, I'll have a talk on Gnosticism, and then I'll have a talk on the Gnostic Christian gospel. The next video will be Gnosticism and Star Wars, exploring the connection. Another topic, I'll be doing a video on a path of the Gnostic, and then I will start addressing more about the Westminster Confession itself, a short summary of the Christian conflict in history leading to the Westminster Confession, and then what was the goal of the Westminster Confession. And then finally, I will actually start criticizing the Westminster Confession, going through it chapter by chapter. The first one of the Holy Scripture, of God in the Holy Trinity, of God's eternal decree of creation, and so forth. But before all that, I really think that it's necessary to talk about some fundamentals, just so that people that are when I'm going through the criticism of the Westminster Confession, they'll understand where I'm coming from, and they can actually think about what I'm saying rather than just get all upset. I don't want people to just get all upset. I want people to be able to actually think about, consider what I'm saying, and not just call me an apostate. As I mentioned in my last video, people have called me an apostate or excommunicated me for various reasons because I question things. Okay, so what is truth? In the age we live in, we live in an age where the importance of knowing the truth is not known. As you can see in the picture here, I've got, it says a universal, what if the universe is an illusion? Now, there's a lot of people that think that it's possible. And it's really based on an idea of Far Eastern thought. It's not a Christian thought, okay? So, and this is because what is truth? So, there's a lot of different people's ideas of truth. And when you mix two different cultures, which is what I talked about in the last talk on why I'm doing this, I am presenting, I just got my cat coming here. Anyway, when you have different cultures, and you're even using the same words, people have different understandings of those words. And so communication becomes hard or impossible. People talk at each other rather than actually listening and having a conversation. So we live in an age where the importance of knowing what truth is not known. Truth is a word with a universal meaning. I got all the cats in here, and I shut the door. I'm just a sec while I let them get. Okay. There you go. I just wanted to have a little bit of soundproofing and quiet, but such is life. Anyway, now they can go where they want, and I won't have cats crawling all over me. Truth is a word with a universal meaning. Now, this, a lot of people don't think that, okay? So just go with me for a while. One misuses the word when stating, I have my truth and you have yours. This is to make truth specific to one situation, moment, place, or circumstance. To deny the truth as universal is to make one the universe. And the universe can be just an illusion. You are just having your truth. I consider that when you make the universe an illusion, when you say, basically you're saying white can be black, night can be day, so forth, you are essentially doing something that is insane. It's classified as insane when you can't have a grip on reality. And to have this idea of the universe as an illusion is basically, you have the universe just revolving around you, and it's to be the ultimate narcissist. Now, you may think that the universe is an illusion, and you may not think you're the ultimate narcissist. I understand. But I'm just taking this to logical conclusions, which not everybody uses. Not everybody uses logic. Some people use insanity, and I will cover that in this truth thing. So, to take personal truth to its logical extension is to deny the existence of the universe. So personal truth, if you actually take it to your logical extension, is to deny the existence of the universe. What if the universe is an illusion? There you go. The universe is about many, many things, not one thing or the one. It's not about you being the one. And if you actually even consider that, the statement is to think that you're the one and the universe is an illusion is to deny that I exist. I'm just a figment of your imagination when you're watching this video. Like, it's all in your head. Where did you come from with this? Did you just pop into existence? It's if you actually try to think about it, it is insane. I can't think of any other word to describe it. Truth is the same for everyone. And the universe is not illusion, is not an illusion. Truth is the same for everyone. Otherwise, it is not truth. Personal truth, in quotes, could be an understanding, an opinion, or something else, but it is not truth. Philosopher, theologian William Craig states that truth is objective, not subjective. Everyone, even when one states that there is no objective truth, this is stating an objective truth which can be tested. Truth cannot be dismissed as a triviality. We need to know the truth to deal with reality. This is stating an objective truth. Reality will overwhelm a person or nation or world if they're unprepared because the truth has been lost. To not know the truth will lead to tragedy. Reality can hit like a tsunami. Imagine collecting seashells on the beach. Suddenly, the shoreline is receding fast beyond normal tidal rate. The collector might think now they have a bonanza because they see seashells hundreds of meters into the ocean. They should be running for their lives into shore, seeking shelter, higher ground, or a vehicle for a swift exit. The truth is that they are about to experience a tsunami. This is an example to show that truth is very important. Now, William Craig, he was talking about truth is objective. And here is an interesting chart made by P.D. Comp, whatever, truth versus reality. Now, I disagree pretty much with this chart. Reality is not subjective. Your opinion or your perspective is objective, but reality, and they're classifying reality apparently as your opinion or your perception of truth or what's going on in the world. Here it says truth does not change, which I agree with. And reality is interpreted differently by different people, so it is perspective. I don't totally disagree with this chart. It's truth can be challenged. Yes, that's because they're saying that because when you can ask whether truth is true or false, and they say reality cannot be challenged. So basically, they're saying because they understand reality as a person's perspective, you can't challenge a person's perspective. I think that this is a very weird statement to say. I think in communication, everybody's perspectives are challenged unless you don't want to communicate to anybody. You know, because they're calling reality, they basically define reality as a subjective experience. And our perspective is subjective. You know, truth can be, in a sense, an experience can be considered, in a sense, subjective when you're dealing with your personal understanding of what truth is and how you're dealing with it. But really, you know, if it's truth is not a subjective thing, and reality is not really a subjective thing either. I would rather use the word perspective rather than reality, because reality, you're blurring lines here and in this thing here, and I don't really like that. That's just me, I suppose. But many people have considered what truth is. Raymond Tellis, he's a philosopher, a poet, a novelist, retired medical physician, clinical neuroscientist, and he studied it, and he studied, other people's opinions. He was studying a Cambridge professor who is a philosopher named Frank Ramsey, and he found out that Ramsey considered that nothing is true. As a philosopher, Ramsey considered that. People state a proposition, and then they assert it as true. And so when questioned, they say because they assert it to be true, that's why it's true. That's a circular reasoning thing. And Frank Ramsey, he says it a little different. He says, if one states a truth statement, it is redundant to state that it's true. I conclude that what he's really saying is, because of the way he's saying it, that if an authority declares a statement is true, when one asks the authority why it is true, the authority states it is true because I stated it. And when you have that kind of logic going on, basically Frank Ramsey concluded that there's nothing that truth doesn't exist. It is not really existing. Because you can state it to be whatever you want it to be. If you're an authority. If you use that kind of logic, then you can conclude that any premise that is made from an office of authority is above reality. Reality is considered moot. In today's world, an example when authority states gender is arbitrary. Okay, just a sec here. I don't really... Where did I got that? I know I had that here. Let's see if I can find that here. I have a little thing here talking about... Where is that? Oh, that's not it. I must have missed it. But, we have them and all sorts of genders. And authority states that you can have those. And therefore, to disagree with authority, then you're, and if you consider authority as only stating true things, then you're disagreeing with truth. Truth isn't really valid because whatever the authority says is truth. It doesn't matter. But Raymond Tallis, he presents the idea that there's that truth can be, like they've talked about in philosophy schools, truth can be corresponding, it can be coherent, or it could be pragmatic. And these aren't all exclusive either ors. Okay. To consider truth as that corresponds means that it corresponds to reality. So when you ask, is it daylight? Truth is daylight when it's daylight. So it corresponds. And there's a day and a night. Let's say that corresponds with reality. You can say that a day has a day and night and cycle in it. So that corresponds with reality, and that would be a truth on this earth when you're standing or sitting on the earth, living on the earth. Okay? And then truth can be coherent. And when you have coherent truth, that means that it fits in with other understandings. And if you have a coherent truth, you can build knowledge systems. So that you can build truth on truth. And here is a knowledge system here. It's truth built on truth to make a system of understanding the world. Or you can have pragmatic truth, very earthy kind of truth. These ladies are shifting grains and getting wheat or something like that. Anyway, it's very earthy, pragmatic truth. You can have that truth. You're living with issues. All these ideas allow to build knowledge systems. But do systems lead us to truth? Here's a knowledge system, people, it's physical, and you get an understanding. You can build one that looks like this. This is our culture. Or you can build a knowledge system with gods. Here's a Greek knowledge system where you have a god who's the sun or pulls the sun across the sky in his chariot. This is a representation of that. Oh, here's a Buddhist kind of idea or a Hindu idea of, the sun god going across the sky in his chariot, right? You can have that whole system of gods, gods doing this and that. And you can say, well, the God does that every day, and it works, and you just rely on this God to do it every day. And you can have a life, and it makes sense. Okay? You can build very complex systems where you can predict, when the sun's going to come up or when a star or a planet's going to move across the sky. You can make a system. You can have, this is your understanding of why it happens. It still works. Okay. But the problem is if your system is not really explaining what's going on, and then either nature itself will give you something unexplained because you just haven't searched enough, or maybe another society who has a more better system of understanding reality, they come in, better systems, they come in and they take over because their understanding of reality is better than yours. It's more comprehensive. It's closer to what's really going on. But maybe it's not the best system, but it may be better, right? So understanding systems of reality is not really searching for truth. I mean, you can make, so all these pragmatic and coherent and corresponding ideas of truth, they make systems, but systems is not searching for truth. You can have, anyway, I'll keep going with my talk here, just so I don't go, so I can keep myself on what's going on, on my topic here, without wandering too far. John Lennox, he's a mathematician and philosopher. He states that a coherent case can be made for truth. A case is a legal term, okay, where you bring different hypotheses are presented and questioned to determine which is possible. So here's you try to get more comprehensive in your understanding of what truth is, because you allow different understandings of something and different hypotheses to try to get an understanding of what's going on when you introduce a case system. So then you pick the most reasonable, the most coherent, the most obvious, the most pragmatic, the most obvious one that seems to work for all cases that people, all these different opinions and different hypotheses present. A case is not a process of making an assertion and then it's dismissing all other hypotheses. We tend to do that. Here's an example of, the emperor has no clothes. It's basically, he's the power, he's the authority, and if you present an idea that is different than what he's saying, then you're questioning his authority, and he's the authority giver. So he may be running around with no clothes on because he says his understanding of things is the truth, and any other understanding will be just dismissed arbitrarily. Not worth to listen to. So that's the idea there. And let's see here. So, and really, historically, this is how governments and authority govern. Sad to say, but this is how they govern. John Lennox, being a Christian, declares that the truth is found in the person of Jesus Christ. And here's the picture of, let's say, Pilate and Jesus. And Pilate says, "What is truth?" And Jesus, and not in this place, but in other places, he says he is the truth and the way and the life. So he is considered to be truth to a Christian, like John Lennox. I'm a Christian also, but not everybody considers Jesus as truth. But Christians do, or they should. John Lennox also defines truth as something that cannot use circular arguments to justify itself. Okay, so he's saying that basically you have to use logic, and here's Aristotle. He's a man of logic, a scientist. And here's logic, patterns here, blocks. These are logic sheets, logic puzzles. And here's a showing of infinite regression, an idea of infinite regression. And that is not used. You can't really make a logical conclusion with infinite regression, because it's kind of like you got a hand drawing and the drawing. Okay, what's really going on? Is it the hand, or is it the chicken or the egg? Kind of an argument. Is the hand making the truth, or the drawing making the hand? Which one is it? And really, you can't conclude anything from this kind of recursive logic or infinite regression. You actually can with infinite logic, recursive logic, because once you get a certain condition, then it unwinds itself. But that's programming, and I won't talk about that. Okay. Okay, so what is infinite regression? I'll use an example to describe it. In a race, there needs to be a starting place. In infinite regression, the starting place would be moved back before the race starts. Therefore, it would be impossible to start the race. And you can use this to understand the properties of time, because we're talking about when in a race, it's kind of like a time thing. You have to start it. And if you keep moving back the time place where it starts, you can never actually start time. It's just like a race. And I could talk about other things about infinite, but I'm not going to do that. I'll just use this one. And so what we can conclude from that is that since time needs a starting place in order to exist, time must have started sometime in the past. It wasn't always there. It wasn't infinite. And time is not infinite. It's a finite. Well, even when you're measuring time, it's pieces of finite moments. And we could get into calculus and that idea. But anyway, I'm not going to do that either. But just I understand what the conclusion is, that time cannot be infinite. It has to be finite. Because if you try to use infinite regression, then you wouldn't exist, because time wouldn't exist. You never actually start time. Okay. And at this point, John Lennox, he has asserted that truth has to be logical, and it does not use circular logic or infinite regression to justify itself. And also, John Lennox, he considers that Jesus is truth. And that if you want to find out what truth is, you search for Jesus. Okay, well, that's as a Christian perspective. At this point, it can be said that there are people that are not concerned with truth. Okay? They wish to use insanity as their method of understanding the world. You may think that this sounds crazy. It is. But insanity is used by many people to relate to the world. Any group that considers this world as an illusion, which we were talking about in the beginning, is using insanity. The idea of the world being an illusion is a popular theme in movies such as The Matrix and Everything All at Once. Everywhere all at once. And here is a picture of Nemo. He's waking up from his capsule and coming into this reality of that one. But then you'll find that in The Matrix, he is kind of in an infinite regression in realities. But anyway, that's another thing that's happened in the movie. And here he is. The world revolves around his reality. So here he is stopping bullets because the world is just an illusion that he can use his mind to transform and move. Okay? So it's a form of, it's preaching basically insanity. But I mean, lots of people use it. And I'm just saying that this is really insanity. And it's a fundamental belief in many Eastern religions, insanity. And some believe that governments balance budgets. Is everything everywhere all at once. You kind of look at that and it looks kind of insane. Really? And here, some people believe that, the world balances itself and that they can just be anything in any part of the world. And, and the world is just his oyster to take, if you can see in the picture there. And here he's, I'm not a man anymore. I'm a people. And in fact, he says, my opinion is I'm Canadian. If you don't agree with me, you're not a Canadian. And it's something like what any communist dictator does too. Like Xi Jinping in China, he says, well, I am the Chinese people. If you don't agree with me, you're not Chinese. Okay. So it's the idea that the world revolves around you. It's kind of like the world's an illusion and you're just the kingpin of everything. Okay. It's a form of insanity. Okay. That's what I understand. You maybe not. Maybe you don't think it's that way. I mean, if you've gone to India and you've learned from the gurus there, they believe that the world is an illusion. They don't call themselves insane, but I would. Because they're not dealing with reality. And this is not unusual. And that's why I'm talking about the Westminster Confession. I think that they come from a different thought, a Gnostic thought, which is an Eastern thought, and they they think that the reality has to revolve around their system of governance. But I'll get to that when I get to that. Those who use irrational thinking and insanity will attempt to force reality to do what they want. Okay. And here's what happens. They try to force reality to do what they want. And if you questioned authority, you could get in trouble because he's got the power. Might is right. Okay, here I'm going to talk about governing solutions to end weather variance. The government makes many systems, many scenarios about carbon dioxide being a decisive factor in weather. They declare that too much carbon dioxide heats the planet to levels that will destroy life, though when carbon dioxide was at 12 times the present level, it covered the Earth with the greatest amount of life and diversity. Not all the time, because sometimes the Earth was an ice ball. But here you can see, this is a picture of them taking sections of the sea floor and determining carbon dioxide levels. They can do that. And here's the last 5 million years. And it goes up to half, I think, 500,000 years. I think this is in millions of years. So we got 45 million years ago, and so forth to 5 million years, and then it gives a snapshot of 5 million years. And this level is the level of air. The thickness of the line is basically what they consider the level of air that they can have in their calculations. But you can see it's a downward trend. And up here, 45 million years ago, it was between 1,200 and, which is about 5 or 4 times, or 3, maybe 3 times or 4 times the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. But there was lots of life there. And here is one that shows that these are hundreds of millions of years, like 100 million years, 200 million years, 300, 400, 500. And it shows that way back using different estimates of they use seabeds and other methods of figuring out carbon levels and life levels at that time. So you can see the different calculations. Here's one guy, he has this, I'm not sure how Rothman does their thing, but there's these other ones, geocarb, it's a yellow line, you can see there, and then down to the present over here. I'm not sure what this times, quaternary age, I'm not sure exactly what that means. But here is the carbon dioxide level, it shows, and here's the levels, they drop down. And these are different ages, the Triassic period, the Jurassic period, so forth and so on. I don't know all the names of all the periods, but these are Triassic, Jurassic. And you think the Jurassic would be around here 65 million years ago, or in here, the K thing. But anyway, these are, I'm just assuming that that's what it's talking about here, these different letters. Could be wrong. They think that if they tax and regulate more, they can control the weather. In their policies, I think that they really reveal their ignorance of reality. Taxation has no connection with weather. It only impoverishes people. And when you consider the methods that they're trying to lower making these ecosystems, like for batteries and wind power and solar power and so forth. They don't really want to use nuclear power, which it's a very it can be very clean and not that dangerous. But they created a paranoia, a phobia about it. This is how governments like to control people. They use a lot of phobia and a paranoia rather than actually considering what's really going on. But anyway, they don't consider the process of mining all these products that they're trying to do called the ecosystems. So here's a cobalt mining process. There's a guy who wrote a book about that. This is a bunch of people just doing it by hand. It's very dirty, very hazardous. This is in Africa, and a lot of places they even do children mining stuff like lithium. Here's a lithium mine. It can be quite dirty. This one's in France, so it has probably a high, fairly high standards of trying to keep it out of the watershed and problems that way. And here, they don't consider the manufacturing process. Here's these guys making a wind blade. This one example. And then you have to put it windmill in the ground. You have to use. Sometimes they use this crane. This is only a small windmill compared to some of the ones they use, like helicopters. They actually hook these things up, and because it couldn't get a crane that high. And then you have to realize too, like this is only a small one, they have to mount it in the ground, and in order to mount it in the ground so it doesn't fall over, they have to usually pour concrete, make a concrete pier or pile down at least a third the height of the windmill is at the top here. Otherwise, it will topple over. And making concrete is one of the highest forms of creating CO2 there is on the planet, even higher than manufacturing steel and stuff like that. So, people don't consider that, and they don't consider the problem when you hook up variable power supplies to the grid. You have these transformers. They have to handle the changes in power and regulate it. Otherwise, you're going to have, blow things up. Basically, it really is hard on all the transformers because they have to basically change gears all the time. It's kind of that idea. Like if you had a car and it was changing gears every 3 minutes, or your transmission would wear out very quick. Same thing for transformers. They have to regulate it, and they're be switching power off and on and off, so they wear out really quick. So you have to make new transmitters. You have to make lots of them. And then you have to have a backup power system when you don't have any light or any wind. You're going to have a backup power system. Here's a coal power plant. It's could be a backup power system for this place, but you have to have that in order. Otherwise, you just run out of power. So, and usually you run out of power when you most need it, either in heating or because in the winter time, when it gets really cold, there's less wind than ever. And also in Canada, let's say, your solar panels are covered with snow. And the sun's really low, so you're not getting very much sun. So you're not getting much power in any case. And so you have to have an alternate power system, or else you don't have anything. You can't run pumps that run the systems of bringing water to your house, or giving you gas to your house. So you need regular power to do all that kind of stuff. And windmills and so forth don't do that. So and also windmills, a lot of birds and bats and any kind of winged animal, they die from windmills. And a lot of times, the windmill doesn't have to hit them because it causes so much changes in the atmospheric pressure that it basically ruptures their ears, and they fall out of the sky because they have nothing to guide them in the air, or it could cause a severe hemorrhage in their body. So it doesn't have to hit them in order to kill them. Okay. So you're having that going on, and then here could be farmland. Here it's an ocean, but could be in farmland. You're using up farmland for power systems, and if it's in the ocean, it couldn't be in the ocean. It's got to be in a lake here or something, because ocean waters change height all the time, and then you're going to have a problem with your electrical power system, and also the salt would destroy everything. So I'm not sure where this is, but there's costs. In land reduction, you're for farming or whatever, and it's hard on the wildlife. And then you have to dispose of like windmills and all these things. They have only a certain length of time that they can be used, maybe 20 years, and then you have to dispose of them all. And here they're cutting up. What do you do with all this stuff? It's monuments of wasted effort all over the place, and garbage you have to get rid of. So usually, what's going on here? Oh yeah. So these ecosystems, they usually cost more, and they create a huge debt in carbon when they even making them and installing them, maintaining them. And it takes years and years before you actually break even in that, because you're producing, power or whatever. And sometimes you don't even actually get out of the debt hole of carbon. You're making more carbon using these ecosystems than you're actually ever going to save out of them. So it's like putting your money in, let's say you're putting your money in a mutual fund. Maybe this one will figure it out. And they have a 6% charge for handling your money, and you only get 2% income, but they take the 6% off that 2%, so you're actually losing income all the time by 4% a year. That's kind of what is going on with the power systems. It's not the best example, but it's just to give you an idea. You're actually losing if you're trying to reduce carbon dioxide, and you're creating more pollution. I'm not saying there's no place for windmills and all these things. There are places for it, but they shouldn't be used as a regular power source for a population, an industry population. There's much better ways of generating power, cleaner, safer, more effective than the so-called ecosystems. And even batteries and so forth, to make a battery is a very dirty process. But the people that are virtue signaling on this, they don't know anything about production or installation or any of these things. They just somebody tells them that it's good, it's equal, it's saving the planet, and because they don't think, they let somebody else do their thinking for them. They just think, oh, I'm wonderbar doing this, buying whatever. Okay. I was talking to my brother, and he was saying I have another brother who has more education than I do, and said that solar panels is the most efficient power generation method. And it is, if you discount all costs that I just mentioned. It's the most efficient power generation system. I mean, you've got the thing made already and it's there and it's just bringing in power. But if you do that to any power generation system, if you discount all the costs that get it into the place where it is and the manufacturing and all that, disposal and all that, if you just ignore all those costs, every power system is the most efficient power system. Okay. So, people just don't, they just see something, a product, an end product, and think that that's the end of the story. That's the whole story, the end product. It's like in Calvin and Hobbes, he thinks that he's the end product of, just appeared out of nowhere. He's the epitome of the human race, as in the comic book, right? Nothing was really before him, and nothing will be after him. It's the narcissist idea of the world and the universe. Okay. So they think that regulations to reduce carbon will reduce carbon, but really it actually increases carbon. It does the exact opposite that they really desire, these governments desire. And and when it does the opposite, what do? They double down doing the wrong thing, right? That's what they do. They increase taxes and more regulations so that they can get to their desired goal, and which really creates more of a problem and leads to disaster. You're digging a hole deeper and deeper so that you can bury yourself into it eventually. They deny the truth known by engineers and the scientific community, which are not sponsored by the political agenda. Now, there is a huge political agenda. There's reasons why they do this. It's not because of the economy or ecology. I won't go into the reasons, what's going on for all the ideas that are going on in the world. That's not my point. I'm just talking about truth. Okay, but if you go to sources of people who are engineers and intelligent people, let's say like William Happer, he's a PhD, was involved with carbon dioxide, he made lasers, all sorts of things that Professor William Happer was involved with, and there's Patrick Moore, he's a PhD in ecology, formed Greenpeace, part of the Greenpeace formation. He, has a different understanding. He's not paid by any government organization. There's Tony Heller, his videos on YouTube. He's not paid by any group. And he's been around. He knows, he's actually a guy that rides his bicycle everywhere and loves, he's very hippie kind of dippy kind of idea, but he's also intelligent and logical and understands things. He's not paid by anybody to present his thing. He just finds it very outrageous, the narrative that's being pushed. There's other people, I can't remember all the names, but there are a lot of people out there that aren't paid by anybody, and they don't have anything. They just don't like the idea that all the lies that are being pushed out by government, okay, with their clothes off. So it can be concluded that many believe or entertain themselves that insanity is an alternative to truth. Okay. To know the truth is to have rules which can be used to evaluate systems, ideas, and realities. So you need, for me, I've considered that you need some rules, some premises for finding out what truth is. But it's not a system. You wanted to use it to evaluate systems. Truth is a method of questioning. It is a search, not a system. To search for truth, 3 assumptions must be made. You have to define truth. And this is a big thing. People don't define. This is how I've defined truth. Truth is omnipresent. It is consistent and eternal. When we speak of truth being omnipresent, we mean that it is always present, regardless of location. One can be as far away from here as possible, yet the same truth exists. Truth cannot be created or destroyed. It establishes the existence of all things and places. Whether we are aware of it or not, by the power of truth, we exist. Okay, now that's from the definition I gave. Okay, because if truth was not consistent everywhere and always being around, eternal, even when there wasn't any time. Okay, so that's wrapping your head around a different idea of what eternal is. It's not about time. It's about a time. It's about even when there's no time. There's some eternal truths. I won't go into that right now. That's another story. But, okay, so if truth was not consistent, then it would change all the time. And if reality, all the rules, all the laws changed all the time, we disintegrate. There wouldn't be no universe. So I consider truth as consistent everywhere all at once. And because of truth, we exist. Furthermore, truth is consistent. It does not change based on our personal belief or opinions. It remains steadfast and unwavering, even in the face of opposition or disagreement. Our blustering about reality not being fair does not change the truth of reality. We may interpret truth differently, which is our opinion or our perspective, but that truth remains the same. Finally, truth is eternal. It has always existed and will continue to exist long after we are gone. It is not bound by time or space, but rather transcends both. Truth existed before time and after time is gone. The truth that was true yesterday is valid and will be true tomorrow. In a world where misinformation and falsehoods run rampant, and we redefine words all the time, it is more important than ever to recognize the value of truth. We must seek the truth in all our lives, whether in personal relationships, political discourse, or scientific discoveries. Doing so ensures that we live in a world of honesty, integrity, and respect for the truth. So look at what you think you know. Ask the question, is it inconsistent or consistent? Does it always work the same in all places? Will you let others question your beliefs, or will you just dismiss them because they're not worthy of being questioned? And they're not in a place of authority, so you can't question. Do you feel threatened when people do question your beliefs and understanding? Remember, if you're searching for truth, Remember that truth can stand while lies hide. Seek truth. And this is a big thing. Even when I was writing this, I found that the one statement, because there is truth, we exist. That came to me from really considering the word that I presented to you, the understanding of what I presented to you of truth, truth being consistent, eternal, and omnipresent. If you look at, well, anyway, from those that understanding, I came to the realization that because of truth, we exist. And you won't find that statement anywhere, as far as I know, because people have fiddled with the definitions of words. And that is something that is done in an Orwellian 1984 society, to redefine everything, to break down communication so that people can't communicate anymore, to be angry with one another, to not be able to communicate, not be able to question, not be able to search for truth. Anyway, I hope that this is giving you some ideas, a little bit more understanding of what truth is, what truth isn't. Maybe understanding of what you think of reality. I'm sure that, my understanding is much different than an Eastern understanding. But I believe that this is a Christian, biblical understanding of reality and of what truth is. So I'm just going to leave that with you. Consider it. And my next talk will be on the gospel. And that will blow your mind, because it's not what I'm trying to use, the biblical understanding of the gospel, but it is not exactly what people are presenting, Christians are presenting in theology, in their schools, or whatever. It's going to blow your mind. What is the gospel? That's the next one I'm going to be doing. So God bless, and may you keep questioning, may you keep searching for truth.